Alright, we're back. Chapter 2. The 7 Hermetic Principles. The principle of true or 7. He who knows this understandingly possesses the magic key before we touch all the door of the temple fly open. The Kybalion. The 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. 1. The principle of mentalism. 2. The principle of correspondence. 3. The principle of vibration. 4. The principle of polarity. 5. The principle of rhythm. 6. The principle of cause and effect. 7. The principle of gender. The 7 principles will be discussed and explained as we proceed with this lesson, and short explanation of each, however, may as well be given at this point. 1. The principle of mentalism. The whole is mind, the universe is mental. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the whole, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestation and appearance, which we know under the term of material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material sense, is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and taught as an universal, infinite, living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of all. Subject to the law of created thing, and that the universe as a whole and its part or unit as its existence in the mind of the whole, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the law of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental law instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of mind. Very powerful. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long age ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path of mystery, on the path to mystery." And these words are as true today as the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knows in vain at the many doors of the temple. 2. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the law and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom run in this world, as above so below, as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle give one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. They are plain beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is an universal law. The ancient Hermetism considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man is able to pry aside to obstacles which hide from view the unknown. Its use when even tore aside the veil of Isis to extend that the glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as knowledge of the principle of geometry enables a man to measure distant sun and their movement, while seated in this observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. 3. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The Kybalion. This principle embodied the truth that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. Facts, which modern science endorses and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet, this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the master of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the difference between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rate of vibration. From the whole, which is the pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. All is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practical at rest, just as rapidly moving well seems to be motionless. I repeat, the vibration of the spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that is practically at rest, just as rapidly moving wheels seems to be motionless. Too fast. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration, from corpuscle and electron, atom and molecule, to world and universes. Everything is in a vibratory motion. This is also true on the plane of energy and force, which are but varying degree of vibration, and also to the mental plane, whose state depend upon vibration, and even to the spiritual plane. Everything is vibration. Energy, frequency, and vibration. 369, we are on the channel. Don't forget, if you like the lecture, click on the like button, subscribe. There are more to come. Just the beginning. The Kybalion is a very powerful book, but we're gonna go more and more on occult knowledge, and even on some books that you want to read this. It's very, 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 very interesting. And like I said, knowledge is power. Click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the lecture. And let's continue. An understanding of this principle, which are the appropriate formula, enable Hermetic students to control their own mental vibration as well as those of others. The master also applied this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grabbed the scepter of power, say one of the old writer. 4. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has pole, everything has its pair of opposites, like and unlike, are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree, extremes. All truth or but half truth. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual, everything has two poles, everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have been perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degrees. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. The pair of opposites may be reconciled. Extreme meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truth are but half truth. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles, or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, with many varying degrees between them. When you read this, it's the time when you make the spherical perception, because a lot of people are stuck in the 3D perception. But when you are in the spherical perception, you go from all the pole, left to right, and it's we're going to talk in another video about this. I got some lecture on this with geometry. Let's continue. 23. To illustrate heat and cold, although opposite, are really the same thing, the difference between consisting merely of degree of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. These two terms, heat and cold, simply indicate varying degree of the same thing. And that same thing which manifests as heat and cold is merely a form, variety, and rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat, and the phenomena attend and thereupon are manifestation of the principle of polarity. The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing, the difference between consisting and varying degree between the two poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begins? What is the difference between large and small? Between hard and soft? Between black and white? Between sharp and dull? Between noise and quiet? Between high and low? Between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example of that, of love and hate, two mental states apparently totally different, and yet there are degrees of hate and degree of love, and a middle point in which we use the term like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at loss to know whether we like or dislike, or neither, and all are simple degree of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. And more than this, and considered of more importance by the Hermetism, it is possible to change the vibration of hate to the vibration of love in one's own mind and in the mind of others. Many of you who read this line have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate, and the reverse in your own case and that of others. And you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by use of the will, by means of the Hermetic formula. Good and evil are but the pole of the same thing, and the Hermetists understand the art of transmuting evil into good by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy, known and practiced by ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. Alchemy Master 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flow. The principle of rhythm. Everything flow out and in. Everything has its tide. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensate. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is a manifest as measure motion, to and fro, a flow in flow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide, between the pole which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is in the affair of the universe, suns, worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matters. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of the world, in the rise and the fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally in the mental state of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermetists find the understanding of the principle most important. The Hermetists have grasped this principle, finding its universal application, and have also discovered certain means to overcome its effect in themselves by use of the appropriate formula and method. They apply the mental law of neutralization. They cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effect upon themselves to a certain degree, depending upon the mastery of the principle. They have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. I repeat, they cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effect upon themselves to a certain degree, depending on the mastery of the principle. The mastery of the principle, the mastery of the element. It's all about alchemy, the mental alchemy. And moreover, they have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. In this and similar method consists the art of the Hermetist. The master of Hermetists polarizes himself at the bond at which he desires to rest, and then neutralizes the rhythm swing of the pendulum, which will tend to carry him to the other pole. It's all about balance. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery to this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously, but the master does it consciously, and by the use of his will, and attain a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses, who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermetists, and the method of counteracting, neutralizing, and using them for an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. Very powerful to be to the soul melody. That's what I call the soul melody, to be in your own melody, to create your own rhythm, to know when you go outside and to know when you are inside your temple, and know that you make the rhythm. You don't get fooled by the rhythm of the outside. You make your own rhythm, and your rhythm match with the outside. Let's continue. 6. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to the law. Change is but a name for law, not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, an effect from every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happened, that there is no such thing as change, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower plane, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermetists understand the art and method of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causer instead of effect. Powerful. The Hermetists understand the art and method of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causer instead of effect. Subconscious mind work. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the will and desire of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But masters rising to the plane above dominate their mood, character, qualities, and power, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become mover instead of pawn. They help to play the game of life. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by other will and environment. They use the principle instead of being its tool. The master obeys the causation of the higher plane, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is a wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. 7. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes. The Kybalion. 7. The principle of gender. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifest in everything, the masculine and feminine principle ever at work. This is true not only on the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual plane. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the highest plane, it takes higher form, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. An understanding of its law will throw light on many, a subject that has perplexed the mind of man. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contain the two elements of principle, or this great principle within him or her. Every male think as a female element. Also, every female contains also the male principle. Just look at your sexual part. If you're a man or a woman, you will understand. If you will understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study this Hermetic principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious and degrading lustful theory, teaching and practices which are taught under fanciful title and which are the prostitution of the great natural principle of gender. Such page revival of the ancient infamous form of Phallicism tend to ruin mind, body and soul, and the Hermetic philosophy has never sounded the warning note against this degraded teaching which tend toward lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature principle. If you seek such teaching, you must go elsewhere. For them, Hermetism contains nothing for you along this line. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base.